We have to put on jazz to protect ourselves. Haven't you guys ever heard of the Axeman?
You mean the sax man? Is that like a jazz, like the sax? Like the axe is like a guitar?
No, and the Axeman, the Axeman.
No.
There's one.
Guys, what are you doing? You listen to some vinyl in here?
Yeah, what's going on? You guys listen to John Coltrane? What's going on?
You guys are being weird. Why are you being so weird?
Oh, I'm being weird.
We're trying to take it down a notch. We're listening to some jazz, and Man Daddy's got a story for us.
Sounds good.
You guys want to hear my jazz murder story?
Of course. Is there any other genre of murder?
It's the murders you don't do.
Between 1918 and 1919, New Orleans, as I like to say,
Nolan
was terrified by multiple attacks and murders by the mysterious Axeman.
It's not that mysterious.
Yeah, a little bit. You'll find out why.
All right.
Now, during this time, there are over a dozen attacks and at least 6 murders. The first took place on May 22nd, 1918, when Joseph Maggio and his wife, Catherine, were sleeping in their home. The killer snuck into the house and cut the couple's throats with a straight razor while they slept in their bed. After the initial cuts to the neck, the killer then bashed in their heads with an axe, perhaps to hide the initial cause of death. He wanted to keep the axe thing as his motive, you know. It's like, oh, I don't want to be...
His calling card.
Yeah, come on.
He messed it up in the beginning.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, damn, I'm supposed to be the axe guy.
Also,
I forgot.
1918 forensics might have been, on that verge where they were like, did he bash their heads in and then slice the throat?
It's like Lassie was really big. They bring in a dog, and they're like, what do you think, Lassie? And like, yeah, it was the axe. It was the axe.
Razor Man doesn't sound as exciting as Axeman.
You remember Lassie a lot different than I do, because I remember Lassie just looking for people down the well, not for massive murder victims or anything.
They brought her in to investigate axe crimes.
Now, Joseph survived long enough to be discovered by his brother, but died hours later. Catherine's neck had been cut so deep that her head was nearly severed, and she did not survive. The police ruled out robbery since nothing had been taken from the home. The killer did leave his bloodied clothes at the scene, as he evidently changed into clean clothes before leaving. Just want to gussy up before going out in the town and killing people.
Were these clothes taken from the residence, or was it a premeditated murder?
No, just there were bloodied clothes there, and no person.
He brought a change of clothes.
Yeah, he brought
or he just walked out butt-ass naked.
Sure.
Gym bag.
just get in my burpees at the end of the night.
Yep.
No suspects were found. On June 27, 1918, Louis Besmer and his mistress, Harriet Lowe, were attacked in the back of his grocery store. It is worthy to note that most of his victims were Italian grocers.
What?
Yeah.
That's a very, very
specific.
Why do we have to know that?
Yeah.
It does actually come up later with the way the police looked at it. Now, this is in the back of the store where they were actually living, and once again, they were attacked while they slept with an axe. Both survived the attack, though Harriet would later die in August after surgery to correct her paralyzed face.
Jesus.
And still, the attacks continued. Each time, the method was similar. The killer would sneak in at night, usually remove a back panel of the house that he would use a chisel to remove. An axe was used at some point in all the attacks.
You know what's so awful about that, too, is that some axes were probably blunt, so it was just a blunt bludgeoning.
Oh, yeah. Would he sharpen them first?
The police had several leads and possible suspects, but none of them panned out. Since many of the attacks began as victims were sleeping, no one ever had an accurate description of the man. The only recurring description was that of a large, dark figure.
With an axe.
With an axe.
That really narrows it down.
Now, some in the police department felt that the murders seemed to follow the methods of several murders that took place in 1911, but a solid connection was never made. During the time of the spree, the press, of course, picked up on the story. Soon, all of New Orleans was living in fear at night because of who the local papers dubbed the Axeman.
This was the third victim?
Yes, at this time.
Okay.
Due to the ethnicity of the victims, some surmised that the killings were somehow mafia-related. But many felt that the brutality and the fact that no one ever had a clear description of the killer made it a little more ominous.
Yeah, this is the 20th century, the teenage years of the 20th century. So it was kind of like, well, you know what? This isn't a hate crime.
This is also during World War I, though.
Could have been afterwards.
That was when the wasn't there like a sort of vilification of like Italian Americans going on in like the media
was it
during that
Sacco
time?
and Vanzetti? Wasn't
Sacco
that the
and
trial?
Vanzetti, yeah.
The xenophobic.
Yep.
It's you guys, so smart.
Know what you're talking about. That's so impressive. You guys are like a walking Wikipedia.
Oh, Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
Speak to me.
Now, the fact that people thought there might be a supernatural element to it was spurred on by the fact that the local newspaper received a letter.
Ghost Axe.
And I'm going to read. I only took out a little bit of this letter because it's so hip, but this is the letter for the most part. It was dated Hell, March 13th, 1919. So it came from hell, just like Jack the Ripper. He liked to sign his stuff from hell, so obviously they've got a decent mail service in the
what's
underworld.
the postage on that?
No, it said, in part, Hell, March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal of New Orleans, they have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human, but a spirit, and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman.
Damn.
Oh.
When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, be smeared with blood and brains of he whom I have sent below to keep me company.
Wow, that is some cold, hard motherfucker shit right there.
Yeah.
But he just wants friends, you know. He just wants people to hang out,
Keep him
with,
company.
you know.
Right, that's what I said.
It's so it's sad
It is sad.
It's desperate.
for him, not the dead people. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am.
Sure.
But I could be much worse if I wanted to.
Oh.
If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, and the worst.
Boastful.
For I am in close relationship with the Angel of Death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I'm going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I'm going to make a little preposition.
About.
Under.
A little one.
2.
Over.
I'm going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well, then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe.
So was this entire letter published in a newspaper?
Yeah, the whole
Like
thing. Yeah.
several newspapers? Like was
Yeah,
it
it was sent out. I can't remember the Picayune or whatever. It was the first one to pick it up, and then of course everyone else ran with it.
Gotcha. So basically, they were trying to elicit fear anonymously to the masses.
Well, he was.
Social media.
Oh, yeah, basically.
I was
yeah.
going to say, it sounds very much like somebody, I mean, the story had
Flowery.
already been picked up on the news, and then somebody sort of picks it up and says, I'm going to write a story, and then, I don't know, what should I get like the whole town to do? I don't know, play jazz or something.
So this is
Yeah.
basically the
Just like-
1918 version of 4chan.
Trolling, yeah, like some
This is
dude,
4chan.
yeah, it was like a early proto 4chan guy.
Or they're getting like kickbacks from the jazz band lobby.
Yeah,
for
like
the
who
newspaper.
There you go.
was
Bribing
like the
them.
president of the Jazz
They're like,
Corporation?
How can we get every home
Follow
to
the
have
money.
a jazz
Yeah.
band in it?
Everybody gets a gig tonight, guys.
Yeah.
Who has Tuesdays off? I've got an idea.
That's why jazz was so popular in New Orleans. It's like they were forced into it, otherwise they'd die.
Someone gets off work. Martha, we're jazz fans now.
Just get used to it. And so it ends. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, which is like a hellish atmosphere you go to yourself.
Torturous?
Tartarus. Tartarus. Tartarus.
Greek.
Isn't that the-
Good sauce.
Greek etymology.
Thank you. And it is about time I leave your earthly home. I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or realm of fantasy.
It's like It's like King James Version meets J.D. Salinger.
Meets like a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Like a well-read 14-year-old.
Thee shall know my kung fu grip.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like an ESL poetry slam.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And it was signed the Axeman. So that night, sure enough, almost every house blared live or recorded jazz.
God bless him.
And the killing stopped. In all, at least 6 people were killed and over a dozen attacked by the Axeman. So whether you believe he was a deranged killer or some otherworldly demon, we all agree on the life-saving power of jazz. So put on some jazz. Put on some jazz right now. We need to put on some jazz. We put on some jazz.